How's it going, you guys? So in this video, I wanted to record a video review of Dave Asprey and my overall opinion on Dave Asprey and some of his books and his recommendations. Okay, so listen, this is coming from an objective perspective, somebody who at one point in time was very fascinated with a lot of the ideas that came from Dave Asprey, but eventually saw through a lot of his marketing tactics. Okay, so I'm neither advocating Dave Asprey nor am I like talking down on Dave Asprey. This is going to be an objective review. So first of all, Dave Asprey, he has degrees in computer technology and was originally a software engineer. And my little brother's actually a software developer himself. And I've actually noticed, Dave Feldman was a software engineer as well. There's a lot of computer technicians and software engineers that become interested in nutrition because they see, because technology and software tends to work in similar ways as the human body and biochemistry. And I notice that they start to draw the correlations and the similarities, and they start to see that the body is a system that seems to work in similar ways to computer technology. And so, of course, it's not exactly true or accurate. The body is definitely not a computer, but the fact is, I could definitely see why so many software engineers start to become absolutely fascinated with biochemistry, because they see that they can modify and optimize the human body in a similar way to modifying and optimizing computer technology. Like upgrading the RAM, upgrading the operating system, upgrading the software. It's a lot like reading new self-help books, eating a new diet that completely transforms your health and energy. All of these things are very similar. Downloading new information from experts in the field, from self-help books and psychology books, and using new techniques to create better results in your health and your life. There's a very big similarity between computer technology and the human body. So I'm just saying, Dave Asprey is not a doctor. His wife is a medical doctor. A lot of people don't know that. His dad was a medical doctor, and I believe his mother was as well. So he comes from a family of medical doctors, and his wife is a medical doctor, and they actually made a book together about nutrition during pregnancy. But Dave Asprey himself is not a medical doctor. And so he had a lot of health problems and was extremely overweight, and he overcame those health problems, well, through debatable means. So he claims it was through biohacking and eating a certain type of diet. But at the same time, there's also a lot of evidence. And he's mentioned before he's taken thyroid hormone. He's experimented with, I believe, testosterone replacement therapy, and also modafinil. He's a huge advocate of modafinil. And by the way, he freely admits every single thing that people criticize him for. He admits that he's taken testosterone before. He admits that he's taken these different, things. This is what he's known for. Dave Asprey popularized using technology to optimize human health and biochemistry. So it's not like he's hiding this from people. But the problem is that he claims that all of his health benefits were from his nutrition protocols and things that he's outlined in his multiple books here, which I'm going to be discussing in this video review. And that's the problem, is that, the Bulletproof diet completely, healed me, he says. But the fact is, there's been a multitude of other, exogenous hormones and drugs that he's taken that could provide that benefit. Thyroid hormone alone would make you drop hundreds of pounds in weight. Testosterone replacement therapy would make you drop tons of weight. And I think, but I'm not sure, I think modafinil might make you drop weight as well. Also, cognitive function and his talk about improvements in brain and sharpness of thought and mental clarity could easily have been attributed towards, testosterone replacement therapy and modafinil, not bulletproof coffee and a ketogenic diet. Granted, a ketogenic diet is scientifically proven to improve brain function. If you actually study the literature behind it or read books by the leading experts in ketosis, you'll know through a variety of means. It's neuroprotective. It enhances the expression of GABA in the brain, which alone is one of the reasons why people stack theanine with caffeine. And I could go on and on. So it's debatable whether Dave Asprey's diet and supplements are to blame for his improvements and function and brain function and health. That's debatable. But the fact is, everything Dave Asprey recommends, besides the mold toxin thing, in my opinion, everything else is, well, a lot of the things that Dave Asprey talks about are tried and proven methods of increasing brain function and health. The ketogenic diet is a very effective way of dropping weight, and 85% of the people who do it right tend to experience the same benefits that Dave Asprey talks about in his books. Although you don't need Dave Asprey's special supplements to increase brain function, to increase weight loss, you don't actually need to buy the supplements he recommends or his brands. Like, you could use MCT oil, you could use high quality coffee, you could use butter, you could do regular meats without buying Dave Asprey's special Bulletproof brand. That's the thing, is people, so he pushes his supplements very significantly. Throughout his book, he'll constantly talk, like, he includes his brain octane oil, his special branded oil, MCT oil. He includes that in all of his recipes. But you could use regular MCT oil. You don't have to use his brand, but he does market it and advertise his supplements shamelessly, like over and over again. And that is one of the criticisms, is that people, they freak out because Dave Asprey's constantly talking up his supplement brand. The thing is, I do feel like a lot of the claims he makes are exaggerated, but they work. That's the key, is they work. And you don't actually have to buy his brand of supplements. Also, it is a fact that, okay, so first of all, you don't actually need to eat grass-fed beef to experience great health benefits from a ketogenic diet. You don't actually need to eat grass-fed beef to drop weight or to see hormonal benefits. And there's no studies that actually show short-term or long-term benefits from eating grass-fed over grain-fed. However, the nutrient content is extremely different between grass-finished and grain-finished beef. But he talks up grass-fed beef as if it's a necessity. The mold toxin theory in this book doesn't apply to the vast majority of human beings walking the earth. Most people, okay, so the people that actually experience benefits from cutting certain foods, like histamine intolerances, and people who have overly sensitive immune systems, a lot of times it's because they have leaky gut syndrome. They have certain health problems that make them more susceptible to experiencing some of the side effects of these supposed mold toxins, like alpha toxin and whatnot. What he doesn't talk about is the fact that lectins and alpha toxin and these molds, they can be mostly destroyed by heating, and most foods are going to have trace residues either way of these mold toxins, and there's no way you can completely remove histamines and mold toxins completely, only minimizing your exposure. Although, again, Dave Asprey doesn't say, like, oh, this is one size fits all for everyone. Kind of the contrary. He's constantly updating his diet guidelines in his little infographic on his website. You can actually download his diet recommendations for free, And every couple months, I used to download it, and it was always updating. He's always changing the types of food to eat that are healthy or questionable or neutral. And the thing is, he has foods that are probably going to be good for everybody, foods that are kind of like might give you bad symptoms, might not, and then foods at the very bottom that are probably going to cause problems for absolutely everybody. So his bulletproof diet, again, it is tried and proven. Like the recommendations he makes, whether you're following Dave Asprey or not, people get good results from it. It works. And this diet is actually individualized, as in, like, he has a graph where, the green, the highest part of the pyramid that are good, there's that are good for everybody. The middle part is foods that might be good for some people, might not be. At the very low end are foods that are probably bad for everybody. So it's individualized. There's a lot of things that he said, though. So his Bulletproof coffee brand. So his claims that mold toxins are in all coffees, and you have to buy his special Bulletproof coffee in order to avoid mold toxins. It's never been proven. In fact, there's been a lot of blowback. Really, the big criticism on Dave Asprey is his claim that mold toxins are found in most coffee brands. The fact is, there's many lab analysis and scientific papers that have came out that show coffee brands have actually identified that problem and removed the mold problems through modern processing. And so it's rare that mold toxins even exist in commercial coffee brands anymore. However, Dave Asprey's never really came back and explained, he hasn't refuted that or explained his reasoning or anything like that. He just kind of ignored that problem. And his bulletproof coffee process that's supposed to remove all the mold toxins from his coffee, he's never actually explained what that special bulletproof process is. And so so his critics are left with this, bad taste in their mouth because Dave Asprey claims mold toxins exist in all coffee brands when science shows otherwise. He's never actually refuted that. And he's selling coffee that's supposed to eliminate these mold toxins that most people don't think actually exist. And he hasn't actually even, you know, explain what his bulletproof secret process is. So he's selling coffee that's like something like $16 a pound, extremely expensive, marketed as, mold toxin free, with no explanation or no rationale behind eliminating the toxins and what makes his bulletproof process different from standard processed coffee. Now, that's on paper. But admittedly, subjectively speaking, I have noticed jitters and feeling crappy and feeling substantially worse drinking commercial coffee, especially the cheaper end of coffee and even some expensive brands, compared to drinking his bulletproof coffee beans. For some reason, his bulletproof coffee beans definitely make me feel a lot better. It feels like a healthier coffee buzz. And I've had multiple friends, including, my ex-girlfriend who used to live with me, who worked as a barista, by the way, and was constantly required to sample new coffee that came in and whatnot. She has said that she experiences a significant difference between bulletproof coffee beans and other coffees that she's tried working as a barista and whatnot. And I've heard from multiple people that they experience the same thing. So, I don't know what's different with this coffee. I just know that I do feel different. So, there's that. And I have Dave Asprey's Headstrong. I have the Game Changers and Bulletproof Diet. He's came out with a new book called Superhuman. The thing is, Dave Asprey's on this whole like trend of limiting protein in order to inhibit mTOR. I believe that inhibiting mTOR is not a productive thing. I believe restricting protein is actually counterproductive to longevity, considering the largest risk factor for mortality in older adults and elderly people is hip fractures and falling and basically symptoms of fragility. And studies show the higher the protein intake during elderly years, the higher rates of survival. And so the muscle mass is actually directly correlated with increased longevity. And protein consumption is actually directly linked to higher rates of longevity. And so limiting protein and obsessing over autophagy and these things is not directly going to relate to longevity the way that he kind of promotes it. He's also kind of like promoting, this gut microbiome theory that's not been proven causally. I think there was one fecal matter transplant study where they showed like a improvement in depression symptoms or no, autism symptoms, but everything else is correlation. We know, healthier people have healthy strains of bacteria in their gut microbiome, but healthy strains of bacteria are more likely linked to the types of food these healthy people are eating. It's not like the bacteria in your gut is causing health. It's that people who are healthy eat healthy foods, which feeds healthy bacteria. And so that healthy bacteria is a correlation with the healthy diet that they're eating. So it's not that the bacteria in their gut is causing health, it's that they're eating healthy diet patterns, and the healthy diet patterns creates that bacteria in their gut. It feeds that bacteria in their gut. And so it just so happens that they have these strains of bacteria in their gut that are fed by healthy foods, and they are healthy people who have great health outcomes. It's correlation, not causation, and it should be taken with a grain of salt. Well, Dave Asprey's writing on this whole, healthy gut microbiome train, and now he's selling a gut microbiome supplement. It's a fiber supplement, and he's promoting that along with mTOR and autophagy in his book Superhuman. At least based on interviews, that's what I assume, but I haven't actually read his newest book, so I can't really say that. So, I never bought the book, despite being extremely excited when it was first announced. When I started to dig into the literature behind a lot of things he was saying, I realized it's, just the mainstream alternative health hype, and it's not actually the reality. And so, a lot of the things that he talks about in his book, either they work really well, or they are, supported by the mainstream, alternative health, longevity, nutrition, keto scene. But they're overhyped, they're, exaggerated, and they're aimed towards selling Dave Asprey's special supplements. So it's a mix of truth, exaggeration, and things that actually work in practice, but aim towards buffing up Dave Asprey's brand. And there's a lot of things that he promotes that that are probably a waste of money. A lot of things he promotes that might be dangerous. He's made an article, like he believes that you have to keep carbs in your diet to keep thyroid hormone high and to prevent dry eyes. He claimed that glucose creates tears and is needed to create tears, or dietary carbohydrate is required to create tears. That's not true. Gluconeogenesis can convert free fatty acids in the glycerol backbone of triglycerides into glucose. So you can actually create glucose from fatty acids to provide whatever glucose your body needs to produce tears, if it needs glucose to produce tears in the first place. And he's promoted fat fasting, which he said you need activated charcoal in order to do a fat fast so that you can cleanse your body of the toxins released from your fat cells, which is you know new, probably not effective at best, and possibly dangerous at worst. He's claimed you need to eat carbs at the end of a fat fast. He's really big on this whole eating carbs thing, to upregulate your thyroid hormone. You don't need carbs to keep your thyroid hormone elevated. The reason why people have thyroid hormone issues on low carbs sometimes is because they tend to eat less. If you're eating an extreme calorie deficit for a long time, you'll experience what's known as adaptive thermogenesis, where essentially you see downregulation of thyroid due to chronic starvation. Your body starts to slow down your metabolism by downregulating thyroid to prevent death, so that your energy expenditure goes down and your accumulation of fat should go up. It's to save energy. So down regulating your thyroid hormone has nothing to do with carb restriction. It's about calorie restriction. And instead of increasing carb intake and doing cyclic ketosis, the more effective strategy is to just start eating more fat and eating more calories. Your body can produce all the glycogen and you know endogenous carbohydrate that it needs through gluconeogenesis, converting fat, not protein or amino acids, but fat into glucose, as I've mentioned many times before. Considering I was on a ketogenic diet for an entire year, and I competed in Muay Thai on a ketogenic diet. So, I know that I don't need carbs because I outperformed the guy who I was facing, who was eating an apple before the fucking match. Anyway, yeah, so lots of great ideas, but you just got to be very careful and not take everything he says as 100% truth. The other thing is, again, Dave Asprey is a biohacker. He's not a scientist like he might seem like sometimes. And Dave Asprey, what was I going to say? There was something I was going to say about Dave Asprey being a biohacker. Well, it seems like the mold toxins in my like cheap coffee are kicking in. But there was something I was going to say about Dave Asprey, but I forgot. Oh yeah, he was the guy who popularized a lot of the nootropic scene ideas that are standard practice these days. Dave Asprey was not the first person who promoted these biohacking things. Like we had Tim Ferriss, and we had Charles Poliquin. We had a lot of people who emphasized low carb diets, ketones, and fat coffee and stuff like that, and taking like carnitine in order to increase brain function. There were a lot of biohacking gurus that came before Dave Asprey, but Dave Asprey was the one who took it to the mainstream. Dave Asprey was the one who made an entire supplement company surrounding it. He was the one who took biohacking and made it a common theme in alternative health, optimizing human performance. And he was the one who took, bulletproof coffee, fat coffee, and made it mainstream. Despite the fact that butter tea was, milk tea and these things, fatty coffee has been around for a long time. But Dave Asprey is the one, even I think Paul Chek was, talking about it before. But Dave Asprey was the one who made it mainstream. That's why most people know keto coffee is bulletproof coffee, not fat coffee or yak butter tea. People know it as bulletproof coffee. He's the one who made it mainstream. So, yeah, lots of BS to navigate through in Dave Asprey's work, but lots of valuable ideas, and I think his bulletproof diet works. And I think for people who have extreme food sensitivities, it's really worth picking up the Bulletproof Diet book and maybe like reading through it or reading through some of his information about it. I think that his diet is kind of like a cyclic autoimmune ketogenic diet, if you will. Um, Also, C8 MCT oil is another thing he brought to the mainstream, and that is like pharmaceutical grade MCT oil. It is the most effective MCT oil you can buy. It is scientifically different and it is subjectively different. C8, brain octane oil, MCT oil, C8 is significantly different than regular MCTs or coconut oil. That is a fact. And if you take brain octane oil, you will know. Just make sure not to take too much or you'll shit yourself. So yeah, it's like his ideas work, they're valid, but there are some ideas he puts out there that might not be so great, might be dangerous. A lot of the stuff is exaggerated, and just don't think you have to buy his expensive supplements. Maybe try them once, and maybe try other brands. But everything that I've tried that Dave Asprey's recommended so far has actually given me the same results that he says that it has. So leave your questions and comments down below, and I'll talk to you all next time.